New at 6, we've uncovered more trouble inside a local jail that's seen its fair share of problems. Thousands of dollars earmarked for inmate care, instead spent on flowers, gift cards, and for staff and more. We are now Channel 2 with Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie. He's live at the Fulton County Jail. Mark, you questioned Sheriff Pat Labatt about the money mismanagement.
Well, Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labatt says after questions about spending from the Inmate Welfare Fund came from various quarters, his office investigated and found many expenditures that simply were not proper, not for inmate welfare. He says this was a factor in 2 firings so far, and he wants to be open about what's going on, hence our exclusive interview.
Bills had been paid out of the Inmate Welfare Fund that didn't really relate to inmate welfare.
Well, there are some things that were paid out of the wrong account.
Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labatt says the money in the Fulton County Jail Inmate Welfare Fund comes from commissary purchases by inmates of snacks and so on, and from inmate phone calls. But he acknowledges some folks at the sheriff's office have made some bad calls about what to buy with the fund. That while most purchases since the start of 2021 appear proper, some purchases appear to have nothing to do with inmate welfare.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars that we have uncovered, if you will.
And some are in a gray area.
We have really thoroughly investigated.
The sheriff says he saw an ordinance governing the fund not long before his staff provided it to us.
A committee composed of the sheriff, the chief jailer, and the chairman of the Board of Commissioners or his appointee is hereby established, who shall be responsible for all items purchased out of the welfare fund. Did you have any idea until recently
No,
this existed?
Yeah, all this came to light recently as we continue to investigate and complete our remediation.
Does this committee ever meet?
Not once have they met in my entire time being sheriff.
Some examples we found in Inmate Welfare Fund expenditures documents provided us: extra uniforms for officers, $509,073.76. The Honey Baked Ham Company, gift cards for staff, holiday party postponed, COVID, $39,813.43. City of South Fulton, District 3, Thanksgiving giveaway, $5,000. Nixle notification system, $39,550. Florist orders, $2,601. And a cluster of expenses ranging from face painting booth to DJ services to tropical bounce house and others linked to employee appreciation and community diversion.
There was no criminal intent, as we found. Everything that has come out of the Inmate Welfare Fund has been spent on the betterment of the sheriff's office.
We tallied roughly $2.25 million tied to sheriff's office vehicles or what appear to be vehicle-related expenses. Of that, 2 specific line items for inmate transport vehicles and inmate transport buses totaled slightly less than $500,000.
Even if the ordinance is vague, do you believe that any vehicles for the sheriff's office were intended to come out of the Inmate Welfare Fund by?
Well, again, a lot of them were purchased out of the wrong fund, and then to that extent, there stands the potential for that vehicle to be assigned specifically for detainees.
The sheriff said red flags from county finance officials and a request from County Commissioner Bob Ellis prompted the review of Inmate Welfare Fund purchases. He's updating policies and procedures, and 2 sheriff's office employees involved have been terminated, though there were other factors in those firings besides the fund irregularities.
We passed the audit the last 3 years. Ultimately, our goal is to make sure that our future audits include line-by-line expenditures so that we can avoid these things.
Now, Sheriff Labatt says he thinks it's appropriate to buy inmate transport vans and buses out of the welfare fund and some other vehicles, but it's a gray area about other vehicles because almost all their cars can be used for inmates. He says to date the fund has not been reimbursed, but certain types of spending will no longer come from the fund. He maintained the sheriff's office has been underfunded, but that does not justify, he said, what happened here. Chairman Rob Pitts told me he never heard of the committee either, but it sounds like a great idea. Reporting live at the Fulton County Jail, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
This time of year can be a lot.